Thank you very much, Professor Liu, for the kind introduction. It's a very interesting coincidence indeed. I remember reading your seminal work on organizational semiotics with Ronald Stamper 20 years ago when I was a PhD student. So it's a very interesting coincidence. Thanks to the organization. I'm honored to be here. It's really a pleasure, especially in this very beautiful city. As Professor Liu mentioned, I'm chair of this group called Semantic Cybersecurity and Service in Twente. But this talk is about semantics overall, and in particular the relation between semantics and trustworthiness and the need for a hybrid program for building semantic systems, which are basically all systems. I will start with some three very uncontroversial, I believe, claims. One is that a software system embeds a representation of reality according to a particular worldview. So any software system represents a certain theory of what's out there, of the real world. In fact, any information artifact does that. Anything that has what is called real-world semantics, which is not just a piece of mathematics, this thing commits to a given worldview. So for this thing to have any meaning, this is the subway map of Amsterdam, this thing has to be mapped to a given model of the world in which there are lines and stations, and lines are composed of stations ordered in a certain way, that lines are intersect with each other in a certain way, and so on. The only way this thing acquires meaning is by this mapping from this to something out there, to a certain worldview. And this is true, of course, for all information systems. So even a mundane database like this believes, quote unquote, in the existence of things like people who can be living or deceased, transplants and donors and donees and surgeons that relate somehow to people and so on. Again, this is a very uncontroversial idea, and it's a very old idea in computer science. For example, in this paper by George Mealy, which I strongly recommend, it's a paper from 1967, another look at data. George Mealy is the creator of Mealy Automata. It's also who was also the PhD supervisor of Peter Chain, who created entity relationship diagrams and started the whole conceptual modeling community. So George Mealy is kind of the grandfather of conceptual modeling. And in this paper, he's kind of complaining that computer science was too obsessed with playing with mathematics, right? Either syntax, which is mathematics, or, in the best case, or formal semantics, which is a mapping from a piece of mathematics to another piece of mathematics. And we were not giving enough attention to the relation between data and reality.